Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me. It's great to be here with you all today to discuss the very important topic of the termination or referral of clients at the end of your counseling sessions. A little about myself. My name is Brittany Labrie. I'm a grad student currently studying at National University. I'm working towards earning my master's degree in performance psychology. I received my undergraduate degree in psychology and a minor in sociology from the University of Hawaii at Manoa. Currently, I live in the Bay Area, about 30 minutes from San Francisco, in a town called Walnut Creek. Um, a little bit more about myself. I love to travel. Right now, I'm getting ready to take a family cruise to the Southern Caribbean. I cannot wait. I am counting down the days. There will be about 30 of us all together on the ship, so it should be a really fun time. I'm really looking forward to it. I can also begin to see the light at the end of the tunnel and plan to complete my degree at the end of this year. Graduation day cannot come soon enough. So for today's agenda, at the end of the therapy relationship, or any sort of relationship for that matter, it can be a difficult one. The word termination makes it sound a lot more scary or intense than it really should be. During the course of today, it is my hopes that you will walk away from this seminar feeling much more confident about the process and with the tools I provide to help implement during your consulting sessions, prepare yourself as well as your clients for the next steps. We will discuss the following key points that should help you and your client feel comfortable about your time together, as well as what the future will hold for them. Termination, referral, as well as include examples of why one may need to refer a client, timing, the next steps, as well as a little bit of background on the client's perspective. So what is termination? As I mentioned before, the word termination in itself sounds so intense, so final. But in reality, it should not be feared, but rather seen as a sense of achievement. The termination of consulting sessions just signifies a client's graduation, if you will. Or it is at least the way I prefer to look at it. At the termination of services, the client has reached the point where they've improved from when having first met you. They've developed the necessary tools to cope with whatever performance issue they initially began to see you about and no longer require your services. As a consultant, you should be proud, as this is the very reason why most of you went into the field in the first place. To help someone that is experienced at a low point or is struggling to find their motivation to perform, and help them get out of that slump. When it comes to referrals, there are a few different reasons why this could be necessary. As a consultant, it is best not to take offense to this needing to take place, and focus on the fact that you are continuing to uphold your pledge as a consultant and are keeping the best interests of the client in mind, which at the end of the day is the most important, regardless of the reasoning behind it. There may come a time when both you and your client reach a point where you are no longer able or qualified to continue to ethically treat them. For example, you may have started to see a client that was struggling with a performance issue. Let's say they were recently injured and were trying to cope with their injury and make adjustments. As you continue on with services, you start to uncover some hidden issues that were not apparent at the start of the treatment. They are struggling with an eating disorder or an anxiety disorder. As a performance consultant, these are not areas you may not have experience or the qualifications to treat, and a referral is necessary. On the other hand, you may find that during the services with the client, that while you are qualified to treat their performance issue, the knowledge that you have in said area might be lacking, and for the benefit of the client, referring them to someone else with much more experience would be beneficial. There are also other reasons that require referral. These reasons may be more uncomfortable to approach. But like I mentioned previously, being able to recognize the client will no longer benefit from the continuation of services with yourself is what is best for their well-being. These reasons are when or if there is a potential for an ethical guideline to be crossed, in which case it is your duty as a consultant to refer to your client and uphold the code of ethics that we live by. Some helpful tips for approaching both terminations and referrals. While terminations and referrals can be required for different reasons, for the most part, they can be approached in a similar way when breaking the news to a client. So, for both, be open with your client. Within the first few sessions with the client, it would be beneficial to broach the subject of termination or referral with your client from the beginning. You want them to be aware that the end goal is termination. You want to help them succeed and make it there, but you also do not want there to be any surprises or confusions in the future when that time does come. It's also a good idea to include some language regarding termination and referrals in your intake forms as well as your informed consent. For terminations, make a plan, mentally at first, but then collectively with your client. Make a plan for the termination process and what will lead into that. You can do this by setting goals for each session. As the client reaches each goal, or if the plan will need to be reworked, they are constantly aware of their progress and where they are. In your plan, it's important to include an end date and space the sessions out accordingly, giving the client the most transparent outlook on what their treatment will look like with you. For referrals, they're a little different in that you can't necessarily plan for them to happen, but keeping the lines of communication open with your client so they are aware of the process in the event a referral is necessary will help to alleviate any stress or confusion. For both terminations and referrals, it's important to keep in mind that both should be done and conducted in the same manner their sessions are conducted. For example, if you speak to your client over the phone, via Skype, or in person, their termination or referral should be handled in that same manner. When you approach your final session or your next steps, the following items are helpful tips to keep in mind to help you along. On the last day of the session, your client can be feeling an array of mixed emotions, yourself included. So be sure to ask questions. Make sure your client is clear that if they have any questions about what is going to happen in the next steps, that they should feel free to ask. You should also ask them their thoughts and their feelings regarding the end of their treatment. For referrals, it's important to ask if they have any questions about the process, in the event anything is unclear and require further explanation. Now, as I mentioned previously, termination does not mean an end, and ending any sort of relationship can be unsettling for some, even if they were completely aware that this day would come at some point from day one. Reminding terminated clients that should a need arise and they require the use of your services in the future, they should not hesitate to contact you. And be encouraging. Whether you're terminating services with a client or needing to refer them, it's important to encourage them to remain positive. A terminated client will need to learn to adjust to not having the comfort of a weekly or bi-weekly recurring appointment with you. Remind them of their accomplishments and encourage them to acknowledge their hard work that they have put into reaching this milestone. For clients requiring a referral, it's just as important to encourage them. Remind them that your time together was not for nothing. You just want to ensure that they receive the best possible course of treatment, and them being referred is the best way to achieve this. For terminations, something that also might be helpful is to discuss a slip-up plan. Now, this isn't a textbook term for this type of plan, and it can be changed as you see fit, but I felt the way that it's named now best describes the point I'm trying to make. The client may have a question about what to do if they fall off the wagon, so to speak. They may not come right and ask you about this, but this is something you should openly discuss with them. Develop a plan to help comfort them in the event they find themselves in the need of a little of guidance. So the client's perspective. As I mentioned previously, and I'm sure we can all agree, that the best interest of our clients is what is most important. I'm not sure if many of you are familiar with Katie Morton, a licensed marriage family therapist. She practices in the greater Los Angeles area, but has a pretty large presence on YouTube, where she creates a series of videos that answer many questions that one might have during their counseling sessions. The video clip that I have for you is one she created about the termination of therapy sessions, but she answers questions that from the client's perspective, some that they might not ask, but it's important for us as consultants to view this to keep in mind as we go through the termination process. So, for those of you listening, please pause the video here and click the link that was provided. Now, I hope you all enjoyed that great video clip. Well, our time has now come to an end. I've enjoyed having you all here today with me. It was great speaking with you. As we wrap up, it's important to keep in mind what we've discussed. Understand the differences between what it means to terminate a client versus referring a client. As always, remain open and honest with your client regarding the processes and manage their expectations as you progress with their services. And be sure to always discuss the process for next steps. Whether it be due to termination or referral, you do not want there to be any unanswered questions when services do come to an end. Thank you again for your time and attention, and good luck as you navigate the termination and referral process.